Good evening. Thank you all for being here. At this time, I'll reconvene the City Council meeting of November 19, 2013. First item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on an item which you saw on the agenda, I'd ask that you please fill out a request to speak form. It's a form like this in the back of the room and give it to our city clerk. At this time, anybody wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to public hearings. We have two this evening. And the first one is to adopt a resolution to approve the construction of a clubhouse on 3.44 acres at the Andalusia community. Okay, staff report, please.
Your Honor, council members, we have our contract planner, Nicole Chris, to provide the staff report on this item.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the item before you this evening is an update to an existing specific plan. Andalusia was adopted in 2000, at the beginning of 2004, and continues its development. The request specifically this evening pertains to the golf clubhouse, which is being relocated and increased in size from the original approval. The specific plan amendment consists of moving the clubhouse to what is now a portion of the driving range and moving it closer to other community facilities such as the existing swim center and tennis facilities, so that it creates kind of a central town center for resident activities within the project. And providing in the specific plan for a future spa building, which would be approximately 6,000 square feet, which is not part of tonight's, the design of which is not part of tonight's action. That would be brought back to the council in the future as a separate site development permit. The SDP allows the construction of a 33,600 square foot clubhouse, up from 16,400 originally anticipated in the specific plan as currently approved. The clubhouse, however, is going to be 2 stories, but it will look from the street as a single-story structure. It will extend 25 feet above the street level, and the second story will be below grade. If you're familiar with the site, there is a drop at the driving range, and they're going to take advantage of that grade differential. The design of the facility is similar and complementary to the facilities that are already at the tennis and swim centers, and integrates very nicely into the design of the project as a whole. There will be a central fountain and roundabout. We were just talking about those. This is of a slightly different scale. That will be a central arrival area, and the parking lot is also being modified to accommodate this facility and to add golf cart parking that is currently less than they are proposing with this addition. The landscape plan is going to integrate existing landscaping and expand on the theme that already occurs. We've reviewed that for consistency with our drought-tolerant landscaping, and the plan is consistent with that. It has relatively little turf in activity areas within the facility, but uses drought-tolerant landscaping throughout. The architecture, as I said, is consistent with the other buildings in the complex, and uses the Southern Spanish architecture with the use of brick and stucco and pillars to accent the structure. There's also the bulk of the roofing is tile, but there are copper roof accents to highlight several areas. The highest point on the structure will be a chimney that's will be 32 feet above grade. The Planning Commission reviewed this item and recommended adoption by the City Council. And tonight's recommendation is that you adopt the resolution approving the specific plan and a separate resolution approving the site development permit. That concludes my staff report. The applicant is also here if you'd like to ask them any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions to staff? Okay. With that, then I'll open up the public hearing, and anyone wishing to speak. Would the applicant like to speak? Say something. We give you the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I'm Nolan Sparks. I'm the operations manager down at Andalusia. I'm here with our landscape architect, Rob Parker, and our vice president for real estate, California, Mark McAlpine. First and foremost, Mayor, Council, we really appreciate y'all letting us present this to you tonight, and we really appreciate staff and Nicole for all the hard work they've done helping us get through this. As most of y'all know, it's been a while since we've done anything down there, so we sort of had to relearn it all.
Yeah.
And, but it's actually gone very well, and we in our community are very excited about getting this going. And so we're just we've had several meetings there in the community with our membership and our homeowners, and we know it's done something because, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to close about 40 homes this year, and we've got a full-scale model of this down at the complex. I wish I could just bring that into all the meetings, and you could see what's going to happen that with the future spa. But it's been a huge sales tool, and knowing that we're backed by such a strong company, and we're relaunching the project, if you will, it's been a boom for sales, and we're bogging staff down right now with several submittals for new house plans and further development down there. Other than that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if I can.
Okay, maybe you can answer this question. I have received an email from Judy Collins out at Trilogy, and it says, while the issue of completing the landscaping on Madison and the roadway on Avenue 60 is not related to the agenda item, meaning this, what's going on and when are they going to complete the project? Meaning the off-site landscaping.
To date, we've completed everything we're required to complete under any subdivision improvement agreement. We have a business plan in place. When we get to the rest of the project, we'll be finishing the perimeter.
Can you give me some sort of idea of what we're talking about? A year, 2 years, 5 years?
5 years sounds good right now. Yeah.
I don't think this is going to make her too happy.
It's okay. She calls every day, so that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, and in all honesty, it's just not part of our business plan right now because of there's a considerable expense in maintaining all that if you put it in before it's needed, and it's just but in all honesty, I didn't mean to be facetious with the flippant answer earlier. We talk about that when we put our plan in every year, and we have about, I think, Tim, you and I discussed it, we have about a 5-year plan in place to keep working around the perimeter and get it completed. Unfortunately for Ms. Collins, I believe where she lives, she's at the tail end of it because we'll keep working down Madison and then turn down 60th, and we're just doing it in pieces.
So basically, it's in the mill, but it's just.
But it's all down the line.
Yeah.
Certainly, if it was, if business conditions and market conditions change, it certainly could be stepped up, and it's something we talk about quite constantly. But it's not in. We just got through. We had our presentations back in Birmingham on what we plan on our 5-year plan, and it's just spread out over that. In all honesty, so that's why I don't mean to. But I can't promise her it's going to be done in 2 years. So that's where we are.
A phase 4 thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to
we
need to respond to citizens that request information from us and say what you're doing. Tim, let me ask a question. We went through this situation not too long ago with Madison Club, and is Andalusia under the same auspices of having to get an approval on that once a year?
No, because they have not filed a final map for phase 4. That's the difference.
Okay, so they're not under that same situation that the Madison Club was under.
That's correct.
Because I want to treat everybody the same.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you for jumping ahead when the heat got really heavy out there for a while, and you did come forward and clean it up, and you know, I understand it's hard to plant flowers out there right now when the economy is the way it is. So,
But you kicked the weeds down, and that's great.
yeah.
Yes, sir, we're working on that, and we work got the dust control in place, and we take care of that. We've got, now, I think Tim and Leslie have a meeting, and they've asked us to maybe add some plant material. There's some people at Trilogy that don't live across the fairway, they're closer to the road, so the new wall that went in, it's very stark for them. We're actually, we hope to have it done by now, we're actually starting, I hope this week, just to throw some plant material on that wall to soften it for them. It's not a whole lot, but it was a request I think they made, maybe jointly to y'all. It's been a while back. We've just, you know, the good news is we've been busy. We haven't been able to cut any landscapers loose to do that. Just, it's closer to Monroe though, Dan. I think it's the direction where Ms. Collins lives, yes.
Yeah, it's the residents on Danielle in Trilogy that are actually parallel to Avenue 60 and back up to the wall. So they're really close to Andalusia, or they're the closest homes to Andalusia.
Yeah.
Good.
In fact,
Being that close to the corner of Madison and 58, any comments from developers in regards to that commercial corner? Have you heard anything?
Jim Marino is one of the partners that bought that property from us, the commercial corners.
Yeah.
He's got some plans for one of the corners. I'm not sure how far away. What he actually told me the other day, he didn't think there'd ever be enough rooftops for retail work on both corners. So he's looking for another idea on one of the corners.
Oh, okay.
And that's the last I've heard from him. Actually, Mark, he called again today. He just hadn't been out here to meet with us, because I think we still have some architectural control on what he does, you know, besides, you know, certainly the ALRB and planning and yourselves.
Yeah, I don't mean to deviate from what we're talking about.
That's fine.
It's something that I think we're all interested in
Oh, yes, sir.
knowing whether
We'd love for him to be able to go ahead, and we love the uptick in the economy, and hopefully he'll be able to get something going sooner rather than later.
Yeah, good.
Will the spa be exclusive to residents there and members?
It will. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But we do have home sites and memberships available.
Be happy to sell you one.
Yeah, exactly. Must be great massages.
Good. Okay, unless yeah, Christy?
I really don't have a question, but I wanted to share with you that I appreciate your use of the topography, the cart storage underneath the cart barn,
Yes, ma'am.
underneath the clubhouse. They've done that at PGA, and it's really nice
Oh,
when
good.
you have the topography that you can do that. The other thing I was looking at too, on your plan, I noticed that your locker rooms are really small. That's smart.
Yeah, we learned that at Rancho La Quinta.
Did you?
We have a locker room that's never used.
Yes, right. Good. It looks absolutely beautiful, and I'm happy to know that you're going to sell 40 homes this year, and hope you double that next year. That's
Hope so.
great.
We won't ask you about across the street, though.
It's
No.
okay if you do. Like I said, I understand what y'all go through, and I appreciate it. I don't mind talking to them or answering their questions anytime.
Okay, unless there's anything else.
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate y'all's time and help. Thank you.
Okay, okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to say anything? Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing and the matters before the council.
All right, with that, Mr. Mayor, I will move approval of resolution number 213-051, resolution of the City of La Quinta, California, approving specific plan 2003-067, amendment number 3 for the relocation of the Andalusia Golf Course. Case amendment number, applicant, et cetera. Golf course and clubhouse, yes.
Second.
Moved in second, please vote. Motion passes.
And then we'll, unless you want to, and then we'll move approval of resolution number 213-052, resolution City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, approving site development permit 2013-927, including site, architectural, and landscaping plans for the Andalusia Golf Clubhouse.
Been moved in second, please vote. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you
Move
very
on.
much. Really appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move on to our second public hearing, and that's adopt resolution to approve the 2014 to the 2021 La Quinta housing element. Staff report, please, Les.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. If you'll recall, the housing element is actually one of 7 mandated general plan elements, and we last updated the housing element back in 2011 after a 2-year process that we went through. And there is a requirement that, and this is the only element that has to actually be certified by the state. The rest of our general plan is up to us, but this element has to actually be approved by the state. And we're now planning for the 2014 through 2021 planning period. So just to give you an idea of what has transpired with this update, we conducted an outreach process back in April, where we had a couple of workshops held, and we then followed up with some work that was basically left over from the 2011 document, and that is that we did some rezoning of properties and some code amendments that you may recall a few months ago. We then submitted a draft of the housing element to Housing Community Development back in July. They provided some preliminary comments to us. We incorporated those into the draft, and in September we actually received a letter of basically of approval from them for the document that's before you for your consideration this evening. We then subsequently took the document to the Planning Commission back at their October 22nd meeting. They've made a recommendation for your consideration this evening, and then we took it to the Housing Commission as an informational item last month at their meeting, and had a chance to dialogue with them, present it to them. There wasn't any formal action taken. They were all very positive in comments they had to make with regards to that, and at least wanted to pass that on to you. There were no specifics, but in general, they were very pleased with the document, and we were glad to have the opportunity to interact with them. And then we're before you this evening for final consideration. We are in a little bit of a timeline to complete this, and that since we received approval, if you will, or preliminary approval from the state, we have a period of time to conduct this review process and get it back to them. If we do it within that allotted period of time, then we're able to reduce our need to review the document again for, we're able to have an 8-year planning horizon, if you will. If not, then it drops to a 4-year period. So we are motivated to obviously want to conclude this effort here shortly. And another main reason for that is one of the state mandated provisions has to do with our RHNA allocation, Regional Housing Needs Assessment allocation. And we had received a very favorable allocation, as we've alerted you to before earlier this year, and that there's a total of 364 units that we have to account for during this planning horizon. And just to give you an idea of how favorable that is to us, we currently have the Coral Mountain Apartments under construction. That's 176 units. And we also have future renovation expansion plans in place for Washington Street Apartments in the future. Those 2 projects will take care of the vast majority of this number. So we're awfully excited to know that we're in a position that's much more favorable than we were or have been under the current document that required us to meet a considerable amount greater than this. We do, as required by the state, have to identify land inventory sites. We have identified multiple sites for a total of 21.4 acres that could yield a number of units to more than exceed the allocation, the RHNA allocation. Again, these sites are not, there is no requirement or obligation for any of these sites to have to build out as affordable housing sites. They are just vacant property available in the community that could accommodate affordable housing in the future. So it's more of an exercise to identify that we can accommodate that within our jurisdiction versus obligating or requiring any of these properties to have to build as such.
It's like an overlay, isn't it?
It's not even an overlay. It's really a mathematical exercise we go through that to show physical properties in our community that are currently vacant that could develop for affordable units, and then we run the calculations to ensure that they could accommodate our RHNA allocation. And as I mentioned, we have 388 units identified, and that exceeds our RHNA allocation.
Right.
So mathematically, we're good.
Right. Thank you.
And so with that, we're pleased to make the recommendation before you this evening for your consideration. And with that, I'll conclude my report and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Good. Thanks, Les. Questions to staff?
No.
Just a quick question. Do we know how the other cities in the valley rank in regards to meeting the mandates by the state?
Well, I've been talking with a few of my peers. There were some favorable arena allocations to a few of the cities in the valley, similar to us. I do know that Coachella's received a fairly large number, but I think as was even mentioned tonight, they've got a lot of land and some very ambitious plans for that property to, to hopefully accommodate that allocation.
I asked the question because I was asked this question last weekend. I met with a bunch of people from CORE, and they asked how we stood, and I said, we're doing fine with everything that we have done, and we've got several projects that are sitting in the middle right now, and I said, go look at the one next to Costco out there, what's happening out there, so.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Okay, thanks, Les.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and at this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this item can do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and the matters before the council.
Well,
Shall I? You want to?
yeah, no, go ahead.
All right. With that, Mr. Mayor, I will move approval of resolution number 2013-054. No, sorry, let me start with the first one. I move approval of resolution number 213-053. Resolution City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, certifying a negative declaration of environmental impact prepared for General Plan Amendment 2013-125.
Second.
Moved in second, please vote. Motion passes.
Now we'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2013-054, a resolution of the City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, granting approval of a general plan amendment updating the housing element.
Second.
Moved in second, please vote.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Get
Okay,
it off.
we'll
Yeah.
move back to our study session. We have one item left on the study session, and that's to discuss amendment to the City of La Quinta Municipal Code regarding truck routes.
Mr. Mayor, it's been requested that this item be continued to December 3rd, so we could not pay extra time for our consultants to be here this evening. So if you would, we'd like to just continue this discussion to December 3rd.
Okay.
Sure may.
Do we need a motion on that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we'll do it as a business item on September 3rd. December 3rd.
So you got a winner on December 3rd.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to reports and informational items. Linda, you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, I want to first thank Lee for covering my CBAG meetings last week, Energy, Environmental, and Conservation Commission, so I'll let you report on that. Microphone would help. So the Greater Palm Springs Convention and Visitors Bureau, the perk this last meeting was it was at Sunnylands. So they did a presentation because they're looking to open that up to more group opportunities and partnering more with CVB for hospitality and group events happening there.
Mhm.
So we had our meeting there and had the opportunity to do a short version of the tour. So that was enjoyable. Just a few. They opened the main house for us too. Mm-hmm. It was very nice. And they did say that that morning, the next set of 500 or 800 tickets were going to be on sale for tours, and they typically sell out in 15 minutes
Oh,
during
wow.
season.
Yeah.
Yes. So very popular, very impressive. I could hang in the memories room for a long time. A couple things on CVB. Number one, the Riverside County had mentioned that their Film Ordinance Act was approved, and so that is somewhat circulating out, and they are encouraging local cities to adopt a similar plan. In addition, we are working on to be China ready for the influx of potential economic development and hospitality and tourism, so there will be signs potentially on I-10 that will be in Mandarin for a few key exits for Palm Springs and the destination of Coachella Valley. The good news is the U.S. Field Hockey is returning to the Polo Field for 2014 and 2015 years, and that happens during Thanksgiving.
Wow.
And according to the stats, it brings in 7,500 people, 10,000 room nights, 15 million in revenue, and about 3,000 jobs during the time that they're here. So that'll be 2 years back to back for us, and sounds like good TOT for La Quinta. Let's see. Cabot's celebrating their 100 years up in Desert Hot Springs, so there's an opportunity for some promotion there. And then lastly, I would like to invite everyone for the annual mixer that they hold. And the interesting thing about their holiday mixer and tourism outlook this year is they've secured a presentation by Maestro Roger Nierenberg. He uses a live orchestra to talk about leadership in times of change. And so he disperses the orchestra amongst the people in the audience. So you may be sitting next to a trombonist or a trumpetist, and in between the orchestra songs,
Trombone,
he
that's
uses
what I
them.
need.
He uses them as a metaphor. He talks about leadership, listening, learning, sharing, all those types of things. So that's Monday, December 9th, and that will be held at the Renaissance in Palm Springs. So that is fun, good stuff. September was really bad in terms of occupancy overall in the hotel, but October's already clicking in, and
Sure,
room
good.
nights are good.
Sure.
The sketchy thing that might be coming around that's not done yet is the food truck ordinance. That's a County of Riverside issue, and so cities will be able to adopt their own ordinance. It won't be ruled by the county, but they are looking at some type of county area only food truck ordinance. That seems to be a little controversial. So, that's it. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Christie?
Yes. Coachella Valley Mountains Conservancy. They talked about a consideration of expanding the board to include East Valley representatives. And then we had the little mini debate about what is East Valley, and I said, well, we're East Valley, and I'm here. Ellen Trover is our chairman, she's really East Valley too, yeah. So anyway, they were really talking about Indio and Coachella, and there was some discussion about why they weren't included. I think they were at one time, and then they stopped coming to meetings, so they got booted, basically. And then also, it was mentioned that we should, if we're going to do this, also issue an invitation to the tribes to attend. Or to be, part of the board, which I think is good. Then there was some discussion about the fact that oftentimes the tribes don't show up.
That's true.
Yes, they don't attend. Their attendance is not great.
You gotta be careful whether they become part of a majority, for a quorum
Right.
or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we've got it big enough. We don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought that was just a very honest conversation. Nobody got heated or anything, but it just how it is. So, but we did say that we would still issue them an invitation to join, and if they chose to do that, then fine. With a caveat that they attend the Then we approved a local assistance grant to the Friends of the Desert Mountains for acquisition of 5 acres in the Cottonwood Canyon Conservation Area. And something interesting is occurring at our January board meeting. They are going to have a tour of the Conservancy projects, which I think will be just really interesting. So you get on the bus in the morning, then it's coming back to Seabag at noon in case somebody wants to get on that couldn't go in the morning, or somebody wants to get off. And then have a tour in the afternoon. And I'm really looking forward to that, because sometimes when they talk about things, I'm not the hiker like you are, and I have to actually go to the map and say, oh, that's there. Yeah. So I'm also to invite any of you who would like to come, if anyone would like to jump on the bus. CVAP pretty much is focused on what they talked to you about tonight. And I wasn't able to attend the last animal campus meeting, which was last week, but I will get the minutes and notes on that from Mary Roche, and I'll report on it next time. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Terry?
Well, coincidentally, I did, I don't know why I said that, because it's not a coincidence to anything. But I had my last meeting with the La Quinta Chamber, and it was a good meeting. Staff does an excellent job at those meetings on reporting what's going on with the city. Sometimes I feel like I spaced out and didn't know it myself, so it's a good recap. The only thing that was a little bit maybe exciting internally is they had a guest there, a business guest, and they were from Lamar, the billboard people. And they're actively out there being involved again in advocating for billboards. And, you know, different sizes, different shapes, much better than they looked before, and, you know, it would be all for the business community, and you put them on 111, and they would really look sharp, and they'd really, so I was very polite, and I listened, and I did not encourage them to come back, but I respected where I was, which was the chamber, and, no. Well, yeah, except that they're all upgraded and new, and the, you know, the whole kit and caboodle. So I just thought I would pass along that we may see Lamar at one of our meetings. And then, and I'll reserve for another comment my own code word to me with a sticker on it that says 13. I have no idea what it means. So I may, before the evening's over, and I reserve the right to come back and tell you what number 13 means. This was in the newspaper, and I don't know if you folks saw it in the Desert Sun, but it's really excellent. The only difference between the two of them is this one highlights the Coachella Valley on the front page. This one highlights it on the for 90 the West County on the front page. But the same articles in both, and I would really encourage you to just, if nothing else, take a look at the massive amount of work that's going on with your sales tax money that we approved, and our TUMF money, and so they're just yearly documents that come out. So I'll just leave these here for Wanda or whoever wants that. And then I had a CBAG, a Public Safety Committee meeting Monday. Before I forget on that one, there is a blue light ceremony on December 9th at 6 p.m. It's at Palm Desert.
December 9th, 6 p.m.?
Yeah,
Same night as
same night as
Same night as the holiday reception for CDP.
when you said December
3
9th,
to
but I was
7.
thinking yours was lunchtime or
It's
something.
3 to 7-ish.
Yeah, well, this is at 6 p.m. And at the request of the city of Coachella, because there was that accident over there, drunk driving accident, we had quite a discussion on what efforts are underway on the drunk driving issue here in the Coachella Valley. And thank goodness the folks that attend that are all the public safety people, of course. And they had refreshed everybody's mind on how actively we have those kinds of programs going on. In fact, we lead, the Coachella Valley leads the Riverside County in our activeness on the drunk driving issue. So then I had a board meeting, State of California League of Cities board meeting, and you may have all gotten this via email from Aaron. I did have it copied out for each of you. The front sheet is the newly adopted goals for the coming year. You will see that they sound familiar because so many of them are too important to leave on the table, and we want to, we know we have to continue to look at new economic development tools and those kinds of activities, and there were quite a few pension and other benefits, post-employment benefits, reforms made over the last couple of years, but they want to continue to do that, and then building effective partnerships and growing communities. One of the items that that we really stress during that period of time. We break out into 8 groups when we go through this process, and then each group submits 3 goals, and they get put up on a wall, and they will get these little stickers, and we get to go up and put our little stickers on the ones that we think have the most weight, and always comes back to a very high priority, and it's actually embedded in all of these, which is local home rule and local control, and those issues are paramount. And I would encourage you to look at this other document, because embedded in here is a chart that tells you the voting record of our assemblymen and our senators on issues that involve cities, or in some way would affect a city. And it gives you the opportunity to see how our locals voted, so that when you have a chance to talk to them, you can say, hey, what was your problem over here? Or do you realize what you did when you approved X, Y, and Z, and we opposed it? And so it's kind of it's not a document that we hope in any way somebody uses in a real negative way. We're hoping you use it more in a positive way.
Party line.
Which party line you want to follow, I don't know. But it lists all the other pieces of legislation that they dealt with this year, and so I think
That
there's.
comes out an alert.
Yeah, it's a good document to have. There's a couple of extra ones here. I'll leave them for Susan. Then the division meeting was last night in Hemet, and we had a vacancy that we had to fill for a second vice president for the division's board, and there were 4 that ran for it, and we actually ended up in a tie vote twice.
Wow.
So we've continued it, because one of the candidates was not there, and if she had been there, she would have voted for herself, so that would have broken the tie. But it looked like we weren't getting anywhere, so we continued it until our next general meeting. And then they did recognize the Outstanding Public Service Award presentation, and I thank the city for sending flowers up for me, because I did win that. And it was quite a surprise, and I'm very grateful, and I enjoyed that very much, and so I have another little trophy to,
Yes.
well, thank you very much,
Thank you
but,
for service. That's the first time they did that award, especially just for you.
no, it was the first time they did the award, that it's gonna go on and on and on.
Right, you are the first. That's right. That was part of the reason why the ladies yesterday, when we were at the other event, they didn't know that I kind of sprung on them that was something that was happening, and then they felt worse about not being there.
Well.
Former chairs, et cetera.
Okay, so wait a minute, I went all the way through that, and I'm still looking at this 13 here yet. I'm not sure that it's rung a bell. But at the board meeting, there was also some other discussions, and what I wanted to bring up to you folks and ask you to give some thought to how you may want to move forward, but we're in reference to SB 7, the prevailing wage legislation for charter cities. I think we really need to discuss whether or not we are interested in filing a lawsuit. And I say that because that's a constitutional protection. And if we roll over on this and don't look at our own local home rule control, we might as well just give up. And we might as well just not even care what they do in Sacramento. If all you're gonna do is and I just bring it up for you to think about. I mean, nobody wants more lawsuits, and I know that, but,
We
I-
can schedule it for a closed session to discuss initiation, if you'd like to.
I'd like to see it in closed
Sure.
session.
Okay. Absolutely.
So,
Okay.
so
That's
the
it.
13th's gone, I don't know what it was.
Okay. Well, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it.
Lee?
Yes, sir. When we went to the Imperial Irrigation ECAC board, and there's a lot of discussion regarding transmission lines and some new transmission lines, and replacing old transmission lines. And they've got about $54 million they want to spend on transmission lines. And the big key there is that the aspect of the geothermal and the transmission lines going through the geothermal west, or on the east side of the Salton Sea up, they're looking to get some participation to build those, or have the state build those and the IED gets a percentage of the revenue, which could be just $130 million is quoted. So there's a lot of uncertainty as far as what they need to do on the well, they know what they need to do on the transmission lines, they just don't know how they're going to pay for them yet. And they've got a total capital budget of $119 million and only positive cash flow on their budget of $59 million. So the $60 million difference roughly, they don't know what they're going to do with that, whether they're going to go into debt for it or try to get some more participation from geothermal groups to help pay for these big lines. I was also appointed to the Budget Review Committee. So, yeah, right. Yeah, Mark Weber was so kind to ask me to do it. And so I went to the first meeting there yesterday, and the budget's good. One of the big holes they have in the budget that we've gotten used to here is we look at the fund reserves. What's our fund balances? What's the budget and the impact on those funds and the reserves to get the estimated year end? They don't do that. They don't tell you what their funds are as far as balances go. Just here's the budget in itself. And so I sent them an email this morning telling them that there's a big hole. I mentioned that in the discussion. Well, where's your funds reserve study? And they kind of had this blank look on their face like, well, yeah, we have fund reserves. Well, how much? Well, I don't know, and yeah. They are proposing a rate increase, another penny rate increase like they did previous year. They're going to use $33 million of their reserves to again reduce the amount of increase they need to do. So they're going to subsidize another $33 million for 2014 and possibly 2013. Excuse me, 2014, 2015. So it's interesting that they're short $60 million on the capital, but they're going to use reserves to subsidize the rates. So, they're such.
They're going to raise your rate, and then they're going to use the reserves
to offset a bigger increase that's really needed. And like I mentioned last year, the thing is the renewable portfolio, whether solar or geothermal or wind, all that, that current percentage has to be 20% by next year, and they're setting fine. But as current legislation was last year, Perez tried to get it up to 50%. So it's going to go up at some point, whether it's 30% or 40 or something. And they're not saving anything that I've seen at this point in time. They're using reserves to artificially lower their rates. So that will become a problem at some point in time. But we'll have another subcommittee meeting next month in December, and we'll see what they do with my suggestion regarding the reserves, so we can see exactly what they really have. I then, as mentioned earlier, went to the Coachella Valley Conservation Commission meeting with CVAG, and an interesting note that they have so far purchased 88,000 acres since 1996. Yeah, so they've been pretty active in everything, and Katie can tell me if I'm missing anything. But it was a good meeting, and I was glad to be there. And then on the Energy and Environmental Resource meeting, to that as well, they discussed a couple of different items. The Integrated Regional Water Management Plan gave us an update on that. But on the water plan, again, Northern California is such a big problem. Hopefully that is going to be the biggest issue for the state of California. For us down here local, it wasn't brought up, but you hear if Lake Powell goes down to 45%, Lake Mead goes down to 45%, the feds may step in and then tell us where the Colorado River water is going. But the bigger item on that was regarding the single-use plastic bag ordinance. and we've all got the letters from the mayor in Palm Desert. You know, that, in that discussion, it was brought up by, the mayor at Cathedral City. She
Shannon?
brought up the fact, no.
Oh, no, Kathy DeRosa.
Yeah. And she brought up the fact, well, I remember when this whole plastic bag first came about, because we wanted to stop cutting down trees.
Right.
And stop using paper bags. So we stopped using the paper bags and we got the plastic bags, and now we want to stop using the plastic bags because they don't recycle. But you can buy recyclable plastic bags.
Yes.
You know, they make those. So, you know, but I don't know the cost of those for the, you know, companies to be able to buy them and the impact on that. There was discussion regarding, should this just be a state issue and let the state of California make that call versus the individual
Well, they will.
cities
They will.
make it at some point in
Yeah.
time. You know, there's some talked about when they go to some of these cities that don't have it, they go to a grocery store, they don't know to bring their own bag. So they walk out with a bunch of stuff in their hands. But you can, they're not talking about what, you buy the paper bag for 10 cents and they'll pack it.
Plastic depending on the resale stuff. Don't lose the tree.
Yeah. So, that will come to us at some point in time, and we'll have to make the call on what we're gonna do on the plastic bags. And see how we wanna handle that, if we wanna go along with CVAG and some of the other cities, or, now, the United Grocers Association voted in favor of getting rid of plastic bags.
Well,
So is Vertex.
Vertec as well?
They're very costly.
Yeah.
Non-recyclable.
So, you know, we just pay 10 cents a paper bag, and that may be the end of it, or bring your own bags.
Bring your own bag.
You know.
And I learned the most popular rejection of eliminating the plastic bag ordinance is because those plastic bags are used for kitty litter. People who have cats want plastic bags because of that.
Oh, yeah, we, at my house, we use them for the cat and the dogs. So,
Also saving them, giving you.
and I'm
I can use
generous
that.
saying we, it's not me, but anyway.
So they
Nancy
do serve
Kelly.
some purpose, apparently.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they
Yeah,
do.
they're talking, it's called a single use, but it's really not single use. I mean, people use them for many things.
Absolutely.
Yes.
On the bags that you carry in yourself,
Reusable.
Yeah, thank you. There has been some problem with those too, and again, it goes back to common sense, but people put meat in them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then the bacteria.
And you don't wash them, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're gonna use them for meat, either line them or wash them.
Or you
Yeah,
gotta
or-
wash
or
them.
At least separate the one that you're gonna put
Mhm.
on the event.
The other thing that was talked about was regarding the plug-in on electrical vehicle and that issue. Do we have any
No.
areas? We don't in the city of La Quinta. Torrey Nissan has one at his location. You know, and I don't know what it would take to put one down in Old Town. But I thought, you know, you might wanna look at putting one in Old Town. That might be, yeah, to charge electric vehicles.
I think that's a great business opportunity for somebody, and I don't think that the cities should be providing that service.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
agree with you on
They
that.
can be places, but
Mhm.
if Old Town wants shoppers with those types of cars, then
Sure.
they can provide
They
a
can
charging
put-
station.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's probably grants out there for
It's
something
in
like
there.
that, you know, from an air quality control standpoint, a grant to pay for that and put that in Old Town. But
Sounds like
that's a heck of an idea.
Sounds like an IHOP opportunity.
Yeah. So, and speaking of CVEP, I'll be giving the audit report tomorrow, so, in that board meeting tomorrow. But that is the extent for mine, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, good. Sunline, we were sued by a disgruntled employee, and, on a wrongful termination, which was never proven one way or the other. Wanted $125,000, they ended up settling for $27,000. And that, I'm not supportive of that. It sets a precedent, and that without any substantial evidence. But we found out that it was gonna cost us more if we had to take it to court than the settlement. Again, that sets precedent, and I really, I'm sorry to see, us going through issues like that, because it's gonna happen again, unfortunately. We approved a college and university student passes, so they're gonna be getting some passes to be able to get to using the bus to get to school and that, help them out. And this is only during the school season, not during summer months, things like that. So they limit as the usage and during the school days and the time that they're going to school, not in the middle of the night or something like that. So they're very careful about that, but we thought it was beneficial to the students to help them out. And interesting thing, the taxi cabs now will have a light on the top of their car, and if the light is on, they've got a fare. If the light is off, you can hail them down. So, so that was approved. CVAG, Lee, you brought it up, the plastic bags and that, and Nita's here, she wants to say something, and I'll bring you up because Frank was gonna talk about it, I guess, too, because it was on the agenda. Katie gave us the presentation and that in regards to the plastic bags and that. And I think that CVAG has said, well, it's up to the cities, and I think we agree that let the state handle the situation like this, but each city is gonna work independently. One city's gonna say yes, and the other city's gonna say no. But whether we're going to wanna bring it back to the city to make a determination, Frank, you're listening, and whether we wanna do this, I think it's a decision that we're gonna have to make. So, Frank, you might wanna put something together for maybe December 3rd and bring it before the council to see whether we're really want to take the issue up or do something about it.
Well, it's my understanding that CVAG's working on a model ordinance.
Okay.
And until the model ordinance is done, there wouldn't be anything to consider.
Did that pass with the exec committee?
Yes.
No, not.
Well, to go ahead and develop the model ordinance.
I mean, I'm talking about the executive board. This was discussion.
Right.
So, we gonna see something, Katie?
Should I come?
Bring us up to date. Because this has been a few weeks ago that we dealt with this.
All kinds of things have happened since then. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Katie Barrows, 53298 Avenue
Speak
de
up a little
Montezuma.
bit.
We don't have, I know it doesn't work, okay. 53298 Avenida Montezuma, La Quinta. And actually, city manager is correct. The action taken by the CVAG Executive Committee was to direct CVAG staff to work with the cities on a model ordinance for plastic bags. And that was brought back or discussed at the Energy and Environment Committee just to get additional input so that we made sure that all the issues that have been a concern we were able to identify and attempt to address. Actually, this last week, just on Monday, the Solid Waste Technical Working Group, which is a staff committee, which includes Wally Metzger from the city of La Quinta and other staff members who work on recycling issues and solid waste issues, met to review the model ordinance. Actually, Vertec was there and made some comments about the impact of plastic bags on that they experience. One of those is that the plastic bags clog up their equipment in a fairly significant way, and are a significant problem. Apparently, we'll be following up with Vertec to get more information on that subject. They also mentioned that there is no market for recycling. From their perspective, the plastic bags have no real value in terms of recycled material. The plastic isn't really worth anything. But we're going to be following up on that. So the Solid Waste Technical Working Group of staff members is going to meet again in December. And their direction is to bring back to the Energy and Environmental Resources Committee that they report to a model ordinance, which would then be brought forward to the Executive Committee. The Executive Committee can review that, and then of course it would be up to the individual jurisdictions to consider adoption. But I think our goal was to just make sure that in the ordinance we addressed, there were issues brought up such as what happens with food banks, what are some of the impacts to small retailers, what are some of the potential impacts that might occur with regard to the health issue that someone mentioned. So we want to try to make sure that the model ordinance addresses as many of those concerns as we can, and that's what we'll be working on in the next month or so.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks, Katie. And then, while we're on the topic, we do have a request to speak on this item. And while it's hot, and Nita's been very good by sitting out there and waiting to be heard. So Nita Quinn, come on up.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you all again.
Yeah.
It's been about a year. And I'm Nita Quinn, and I live on, Cameron and I live on Via Sevilla in La Quinta. And first I want to thank you, and I want to thank the City of Indian Wells, and I want to thank Larry Ellison. We get a traffic signal. So that is much appreciated. I hate to regurgitate this again, but United Nations Agenda 21 Plastic Bag Ordinance. And why do I connect the two together? Because it's about another form of control. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Plastic bags, a small minor thing in and of itself, but when combined, it's a continuation of more control. You folks were very willing to learn the truth and see the evidence behind Agenda 21, and you know it's real. You were given the facts, the websites, the articles, the books, the background, the history, its connection to our valley, the meetings with the planning department. Based on all that time and effort and information, I'm sure that you see what is happening. That knowledge, and that you utilize that knowledge every day in your decision making. And I do see it tonight. I see it by some of your comments that you've been making about, how are we going to stop this snowball coming down from the state. And sometimes, I think, oh, what's all this for? I mean, it's just like, well, yes. For me, it seems like every day I open the Desert Sun, I see Agenda 21. One example is the golf courses. There was a front page on the golf courses. I don't know if you remember, but I previously read to you that golf courses are considered unsustainable. And now the powers that be are slowly making it so. More fees, more rules, more regulations, till one day it's no more. And like CVAG, I guess you all are CVAG. I mean, I don't know who in the heck CVAG is. I mean, I call it a Coachella Valley's Agenda 21 grip. A grip or hold or control of our rights and freedoms. I don't understand because I am new at this, but it seems like CVAG is telling everybody what to do. Who are they? Who appointed them? I didn't vote for them. How many are there? Is this a lifetime seat? Are they like the Supreme Court of the desert? I guess we can't vote them out. What if they don't represent our interest? What do we do? Who gave them all this control or authority? Where are they? Where do they meet? When do they meet? May I talk to them? May I appear before them? May I give them all the evidence I gave you? It just seems like, I'm naive. I also fear government intrusion in our valley, and I thank you, Terry, for all of your support. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being cautious. But it just seems overwhelming. I just feel that you are in a position with the knowledge that you have to pay it forward. Tell others that the city of La Quinta does not need to control its citizens. We're not stupid. They know how to recycle. They do not need to be ordered around. Today it's plastic bags. Then what? Tomorrow, exercise via a CV link? To where? At what cost? For what? So that we won't drive our cars? I don't know. Instead, let's support our small businesses. Let's let the folks go to Curves or 24-Hour Fitness and do their own exercise. In closing, I was going to mention, Mr. Osborne, about the biodegradable plastic bags. So, they're made in the USA, so there you go. It's a great idea. Why not?
Creating jobs.
There you go. So please, no more control, no to any single-use plastic bag ordinance, period. We know period means period. And thank you. You know, perhaps I don't understand this, but it just seems like it's all for naught. And why do anything? Why speak before you? Why do you oppose the state? Because they're going to do what they do anyway. So it's kind of a sad day in our country. And thank you very much.
Nita,
Yes.
CVAG, CVAG.org. We all sit on various committees on that overall group, and it's represented by all cities in the Coachella Valley. So you can look at their meetings when they happen. The full calendar's there, and they all have. Yes.
Somebody from each city.
And they
So
have.
how many are there?
Nine, plus the tribes.
And the utilities. There's some
You
mission
know,
water.
it's like
district.
you all
County.
have the education now, and are you able to influence their decisions?
Not always.
Sometimes.
It's a majority
Mhm.
vote.
Right.
Right.
And you have 9 cities, and then there are
And
other
the counties.
members, but you could end up with a 5-4 vote.
Mhm.
And the 5 rules, if you're willing to roll over to what CVAG wants done. That doesn't mean we have to. We still have an independent city.
Mhm. That is good. So would it be my job or people like me to go and make an appointment with CVAG and give them all the documentation that I have given you? Do all of them know? In the very beginning, you all were taken aback. You did not appreciate my remarks.
Okay,
And,
may I say, make this a little bit more clear for you, okay? I think of CVAG as an umbrella, if you will, an escrow agent. There's a person who, Tom Kirk, who used to be on our council, who heads CVAG, but it in itself is not the entity that you're making it. CVAG is made up of, as I said before, elected officials. Their calendar's there. If you chose to make an appointment with Tom Kirk or with Katie Barrows, you could certainly do that and voice any concerns you have. But there is no, how do I say what I want to say? It's not just, 10 people who are employed by CVAG telling us what to do. They're
yeah.
very independent. There are
And
lots
every
of,
meeting has a
Public comment.
Comment. You
Just
can
like
go to
this.
the environmental
Brown Act.
meeting or the
Transportation,
I'm on
public safety.
Transportation and public safety. You can come to our
Mhm.
meetings and
Yeah.
make comment.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm just feeling that some are not knowledgeable or unaware.
Well, we
of
have
the-
several cities in our valley that are very pro Agenda 21.
Hmm.
They just are, based on their decisions and their actions and their quest. So it's a challenge, depending on the topic of conversation.
Mhm.
Some cities have employed sustainability directors. So, so you've got to just weigh what the issues are and how we have to make those determinations, just like we do for the residents here. How will that best benefit our city or impact our residents?
Well, I thank you for listening, and since La Quinta
Mhm.
still has a vote, let's vote no.
Nita,
Thank
just
you.
a quick, when you tell me, just as you said tonight, in that you're talking to CVAG, I'm in the executive board, I'm the chairman of the executive board of CVAG. So you're telling me, and hey, I can take that right back to the board of directors and that, and I have control, just like I have up here. So you're talking to not only the city of La Quinta, but you're also talking to CVAG.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I appreciate your listening.
Thank you
Okay,
for your
good night.
comments, you bet.
Thanks, Cameron, for hanging with us.
Okay, the good news that we had with the executive board is that we approved the Jefferson Street interchange proportional share. And
Yes.
we came out smelling pretty good on that thing, so
Yeah.
we were very happy about that issue and that,
But we didn't finish up on the plastic bag, did we? We didn't finish up on whether or not it's coming back, or we're gonna wait for the model.
yeah, I think that was the direction that
Yeah,
we're going anyway.
well,
We're hopeful that somebody else will take it over. Let's see, the funds, no, that was all I had on that. Okay, we'll move on to department reports. City manager?
I have 3 items. One, if you haven't noticed, if you haven't brought your device in, we have free Wi-Fi now here in City Council chambers and in City Hall. Kathy's been here using it, and I've been here using it. So we do have Wi-Fi here in the council chambers, and if you put on your device.
Exactly.
Well, we're checking emails to keep business going. So that was one. Second, as you know, and we should announce that the DOF has changed their position regarding the 2 properties of 4 properties that they deemed would be part of a property management plan. And I want to publicly thank Kathy again for her efforts of the strategy she put together in 2011 to make that happen. So thank you very much. Final note is that in going through the agenda today, we have a public hearing scheduled for December 3rd, and we'll need to know who will be here because we need to have at least a 3-member quorum for it, given that it's the signature property at PJ West, and we may have some conflicts of interest in that. And 3,500 notices have been sent out, so we're going to have to see where that sits.
I'll be here. I didn't know. I chatted. There is a dinner that East Valley Republican Women's Dinner that on Tuesday. Christmas, it's their annual Christmas. I'll be at the council meeting. So will I.
Okay.
I just asked Frank if he thought we were gonna have any public hearing, I really wasn't sure.
Still getting back into things. And
Okay.
that's it.
We have to repeat ourselves.
Yes.
You'll be the lead. I'll be here.
Yeah.
All right, we got our first.
Okay, city attorney,
I have no report.
city clerk,
No report.
okay, and departments? Tim?
Yeah, I just wanted to update the council real quickly on our outreach efforts to North La Quinta, where actually our initial outreach is coming to conclusion. We've met with 10 of the individual developments in North La Quinta that are having their landscape parkway maintenance done basically under the lighting landscape district. We've had 2 group meetings also where Jim McGuire's come out on a Saturday morning, and we just had that, the last one, last Saturday. And Maria Casillas and James Lindsay have been also on this with me. You know, the results have been pretty much evenly divided, I would say. About a third of the group, you know, gets it where we're coming from in terms of our finances and the fact that they've been receiving the free landscape maintenance for 15 or 20 years. Second group, and they're on board with doing improvements, and so they're looking to move forward. So there's another third of the group that gets it, but is real concerned about the cost and don't know if they can afford basically to even $20 a month, you know, to kick in to try and improve their landscape maintenance and do some capital improvements. And then the last third don't get it, and I don't know if they ever will, and they just think that the city should go on, you know, continuing to pay for this out of its general fund or whatever other means it needs. One thing and then the next step is actually Wildan has surveying done telephonically. That would be the next part, and so we're collecting the surveys from the folks that show up. We had about 20 last Saturday show up from the I call them the South of Miles group between basically Sealy and Dune Palms. There's like 4 subdivisions in there. No, actually her group, she's in the last group. La Quinta del Oro, are you going to be able to make it?
Yes, I will.
Okay, great. You can hear my speech.
Guess what my vote will be?
Yes. Well, and the one thing that does come up, and I just want to clarify this one point, is that if you know, people ask, well, why can't we just raise the entire level of the entire either the existing landscape L&L district or create a new one that covers the entire city? And the problem with this, and Jim McGuire brought this up when it's asked, is that any kind of assessment district moving forward has to analyze the special benefit that some residents are getting over others. So even if you did the citywide proposal and went out to vote citywide, you would still have residents in this North La Quinta area that are getting special benefit and would have to pay a higher rate. So this analysis that we're doing just for these 11 or 12 subdivisions is valuable in either scenario. So, so I just wanted to make that point because Jim, that comes up almost at every one of the meetings.
In other words, they have to be brought up and then added to.
Well, correct. If the general benefit was decided that, you know, instead of being at $35.60, it should be at $40, well, these group 11 subdivisions would still be at something, an increment above that amount. And we had that actually, if you recall, way back when, in the original 89-1 L&L district, in that they had separated 6 subdivisions as having the entry improvements maintained under the district, and but it was a really nominal amount. It was like less than $5 that they were going to add to the assessments, and it didn't work. Well, that $5 now has grown exponentially in the last 15 or 20 years, and so you can see where the problem is, because of course we can't raise rates because of Prop 218 without a protest hearing and that whole thing. So.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Tim. Okay, nobody else? All right, we'll move on to mayor and council members' items. Anybody has anything?
Yes.
Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One item, I have 2 tonight. One is, back in the day, we used to talk quite a bit about water conservation. And we talked quite a bit about people that are irrigating their lawns and broken pipes and whatnot. I hear a number of complaints about Avenue 48 and quite a bit of water on the roads there on Avenue 48, and some concerns it's going to start eating up underneath the roads. But I don't know what we've got on Avenue 48 near the school district, and the water lines in that area.
About a year ago, CVWD had a water line failure, and they came out and closed the road down and did a pretty good excavation to try and repair it. I thought it was fixed, but
I'm hearing complaints that in the morning there's quite a bit of water on the road.
Let me check into
Really?
that.
Okay.
I haven't noticed it either.
But
I drive
and
it
then
frequently.
Where I am up in North La Quinta, you'll see broken lines and a lot of water in the gutters up there. And we, at one point, I thought we had, like, if we see something there, if our staff sees something, they'll contact those groups, telling them there's broken water lines or broken sprinkler lines.
There still is a CVWD hotline for any water leaks, and they'll respond.
Okay, all right. Do we contact them if we see something in different
We
areas
do.
around the city?
We do.
Okay, okay. And wanted to reemphasize that, so to speak, again, in the water
I'll
issue.
look into that.
While you're there, and
Yes.
if Lee doesn't
Go right
mind,
ahead.
because this is water on the street, and I'm talking about Madison between 54 and probably Airport Boulevard, the sprinklers that come on the medians in there at night.
Yeah.
They
water the street.
I mean, you can go out there and see how the roads it's stained
Sure.
from
Right.
the water
Yeah.
running off.
That's a constant challenge.
It
It's one
is.
of the things actually that we talk about with the older overheads
Medians.
of water that we have at some of the North La Quinta subdivisions, where it indiscriminately rolls off of everything and into the street.
Yeah.
You dial it back, and then all of a sudden you get brown spots, and people complain about that. So we'll look at it again.
Well, let's try it, dial it back, and then
Right.
when we find the brown spots, let's go buy a rock and put a rock in every brown spot.
Pretty soon
There you
we'll
go.
have all of
Yeah,
them.
we'll
Rocks.
have, a tree and a rock and grass and,
That artificial
Yeah, I was
church
gonna
seems to be
say-
working pretty good
Oh,
on
yes.
Avenue
Yeah, it
54.
does.
Yes,
It does.
That
it
seems to be
does.
looking good, yeah.
And on Miles too, Miles looks
Anyway.
nice.
You know, artificial turf on the medians makes total sense, you know. So, but the second item I had, and we talked a little bit about it earlier regarding economic development. Economic development for the city of La Quinta, I think, is changing because 111 is filling up. I mean, that's been one of our biggest economic development aspects, other than Silver Rock, as 111, and all the retail that we put in car dealerships on 111. And you know, nowadays economic development is not just dine and shop in La Quinta. It's also about regional jobs, and to really look at the regional job aspect. I think the city of La Quinta, you know, had one of the lowest unemployment rates in the valley, and I think a good part of that is because the residents of La Quinta work throughout the entire valley, and they have good paying jobs throughout the entire valley, and it helped. But jobs outside of La Quinta and the unemployment rates outside of La Quinta, whether it be on the east or the west side, impacted our retail sales and impacted our sales tax revenues. And you know, I can't say anything about the TOT because that's coming from all over the country per se. But just to, you know, economic development is different now than it was in the past. I mean, our economic development reports, when we had study sessions in the past, talk about our demographics, talk about the Chamber of Commerce, talk about now CVET, but we've got to look really from a regional standpoint in my thoughts. But to get feedback from all of us up here, so we all know what our plan is. What is our economic development plan? And you know, we've got Indio is working very, very hard in theirs. Coachella as well, and they've got, you know, hired specific staff just for that now. And all of that is about shopping and retail sales versus jobs. And just that, I think economic development, when that comes to us, whether it be December or January, it's not going to be the same old report again. It's got to be something different, and it's got to talk about the new economy and the new challenges we have. I mean, dining and shopping in La Quinta is as important as ever, and I don't want to lose that because it's still, you know, we need to promote that, of course, because everybody else is around us. I mean, Palm Desert and the new stores they've got in Palm Desert are huge. Dick's Sporting Goods and some of these other shops they've got are huge, and that's going to have an impact on us. And we've got to plan on some of this stuff. So, but just to have that discussion on what it means from this council, so we have that plan and help us decide whatever CVAP comes. East Valley, you know, the East Valley Economic Development Group, that's going to be created. And if we're going to be a part of it, then we need to understand what we're looking for from it, you know, so we can have some idea on how this council is going to react to certain things as they will come about. And, you know, matching grants, you know, that's a good example. There'll be matching aspects. You know, do the members of the East Valley all want to match each other for a specific project, whatever that may be, whether it's an iHub or, you know, Accelerator Campus, you know, are there going to be matching from the members of this? And that's going to be some tough discussions that we're going to need to have. So whoever of us sit on that board understands where we're going or what we're looking for from that. But that'll be coming in the future.
Well, I totally agree with what you're saying, because as Terry says, quite often the world has changed.
Okay.
And we need to turn our life on, change with it. In talking with Lee about this and then thinking about it afterwards, I think that we've been a little bit derailed with everything going on with the state, and really focused on that, and with some of that good stuff behind us now, I think it is time for us to get on the same page, if you will, like we did with Silver Rock. We had that discussion about how we were going to move forward with that and what we wanted to do. And I mean, there are only so many hours in Frank's day, and we need. I think we need not only a plan, but to have someone in charge of implementing that, whomever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about it. So I'd like to see it
Okay.
come back to us in whatever form.
I think the thing that concerns me is a lot of it is lack of total understanding of their budget in-house budget process. I don't know how much money Tom Flavin's making. I don't know how much money Wes is making. I don't know how many people they have on staff, and I don't, whereas we get a budget here and we know penny for penny and dollar for dollar where it's going. And you may look at the budget for CVIP and be happy and report back to us, but I've not seen it and I don't know it. And I don't know if we haven't created another pseudo-government agency because it's being funded by government money. And I don't, when I pay my taxes, it's for government things. And my theory or my feeling about government in our case here is municipal affairs items. And municipal affairs items for me doesn't include that we're responsible for creating jobs. And we're responsible for police, fire, and libraries, and museums, and, you know.
Well, I think that's why we need to have this discussion.
Yeah.
Just because of what you're saying.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Because if we
Yeah.
don't, others will. Others will talk to that manufacturer and say, here, like we did with Costco. You know, we were at the door with Costco and gave them, you know, some things to help them bring them to our city. There will be manufacturing jobs or, you know, agricultural production jobs that we want to bring to this valley. And what are we willing to do when one of us is sitting on that board? What are we willing to do to bring Campbell soup to the East Valley, to pick an example? And
That all sounds like campaign to me. That's what a candidate should run on, so that the community knows that the person that they're about to elect or vote for is taking that kind of a philosophy to the city council. And let the community of La Quinta, who is supplying our money in one fashion or another.
It's their money.
It's their money, supplying their money. Is that the way they want it spent?
Okay, so we need a discussion on it, yeah, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, we can talk about this all night
Yes,
long.
I know.
yeah,
And,
Okay.
that's all I have.
okay,
Thank you, Mr.
anyone
Mayor.
else?
I just want to make a note that tomorrow marks the 2-year anniversary since Tom G's passing. And I know that the last 2 years has been hell and back, and he's watching everything. And it would have been a big challenge, I think, going through a lot of what we've gone through in his mind. But very pleased to have Frank on board and Kathy by our side. And we've got an opportunity to move forward, continuing with all this good news recently regarding the state, paid our, you know, ransom, whatever we want to call it, but such a bright future for the city, and a lot of that foundation was really based on a lot of his direction and leadership in terms of the staff and conservatism, as we've boasted. So just wanted to recognize Tom.
Well, you saved my comments, because I was going to say the same thing. And that there are 2 items in that I'd like council's consideration on how they feel. In the past several years, over Thanksgiving and Christmas, we've donated turkeys to Martha's and to the rescue mission. Is council's pleasure to do the same thing this year? Because, you know, Thanksgiving is next week. And if we're going to do something, now's the time we've got to act on it. And I think what we did was give them $500 apiece. We gave $1,000 for Thanksgiving, and the same thing for Christmas.
I think that's fine.
And you know, on behalf of us, buy turkeys that you need. And that.
On behalf of the city.
And Frank can take care of that, no problem. Okay. The second thing, I've had 2 people ask me over the past years, we've always had a holiday open house here at City Hall. And, you know, the last year, of course, with the financing, that's one of the things we cut back on. And I was asked the question, why won't we have it back and do it again? And so we've got a report as to what we're talking about, and I guess the tab to do something like that is about, well, it varied. 2011 it was $7,000. 2010 it was $2,700.
I think we each have
2,500?
one.
Oh, everybody have one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, my thought is, I talked to Edie, and Edie said, you know, we can get it done by the middle of December if you want to, or maybe we want to consider it for next year, type of thing. What's council's pleasure on this thing? Do you think the open house that we have for our citizens is a worthwhile project for the city?
I always see the same people there, year after year after year. But if we were going to have it, I'd ditch the centerpiece.
Look at, I already wrote, cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I see the same people there every year too, which isn't saying anything bad about the same people, but I just, we went through quite a process in eliminating certain expenses. And I don't know that money that we eliminated for has been replaced yet. So because we might be starting to feel a little better, I don't think it's time to go back to
Hey,
you know, some
that's
of the
fine.
things that we were
I can
doing.
just respond when somebody asks the question, that
Yeah.
we're still looking at the economics
Yep.
of the city, and at the present time, you know, we're gonna hold off. Maybe in the future, we'll reconsider it when the economy gets better.
Well, and I guess, you know, the holidays are so busy anyway with so many events to go to. I can see potentially doing some type of open house, either when we redo the chambers, the lighting, the this or that, whatever, and or when we need to have an educational opportunity with the community about some of the topics that we've been discussing,
Yeah.
and getting input or making them aware of our growth plan, kind of a mid-year state of the city. Who knows? I mean, there might be another reason that's
Instead
bringing
of
the
the
community
holidays.
instead of the holidays that we'll be able to market as our own and bringing the community in for that reason.
You know, that's an excellent point. Actually, realtors, when they have open houses and they advertise them, like to other realtors to come, if they give prizes and serve food.
Oh, yeah, you gotta
huge
serve food.
turnout.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't serve food, it's like, come on, nobody comes.
Right.
So even with the sessions that you've been having, Tim, using some of those funds to, I know you probably do something, you make a little food or a carrot or something.
Donuts,
Carrots,
donuts.
healthy eating, active living carrots.
Donuts and coffee.
We did serve light refreshments at workshops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big group work.
Right.
Okay, well, that's good.
But-
That's a better use of the funds.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, I just, questions were asked, and I said, well, let me bring it before the council, see what they say. So with that, I'll recess the city council meeting back to closed session, and
What about these others? Should we do these?
Yes,
while we're here?
I'm just
sorry.
recessing the city council. Now I will call to order the regular meeting of the successor agency to the La Quinta Redevelopment Agency for Tuesday, November 19, 2013. Let it be known that all agency members are present. Public comment, anybody wishing to speak on any item, either on the agenda or not? Seeing staff only out there, okay? We'll move on to, we have no closed session. A confirmation of agenda, are there any changes by staff? No. By agency members?
No.
Okay, then I'll ask for approval of the minutes of October 15th.
Second.
Moved and second, please vote. Motion passes.
Move the consent calendar.
Second.
Let me finish.
Okay, Mary, yours didn't register.
I'm sorry.
Yours didn't register. She didn't vote yet.
I didn't vote yet.
You're gonna vote.
Waiting for the mayor to say vote.
Please vote. And motion passes. That's all we have. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, please vote. Motion passes. At this time, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Finance Authority for Tuesday, November 19, 2013. Let it be known that all authority members are present. Again, public comment, we have no public out there, so I'll move to confirmation of agenda. Any changes by staff? No. by authority members. Approval of minutes of October 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, please vote. Motion passes.
Move consent.
Moved,
Second.
Sorry, Don.
please vote. Motion passes. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second, please vote. Motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, I'll call to order the Housing Authority meeting of November 19th. Let the record show that all authority members are present. I'll ask for verbal announcement AB 23.
Board members of the La Quinta Housing Authority are entitled to receive a $50 stipend as set by Section 34274 of the Health and Safety Code, not to exceed 4 meetings per month, to be paid to members in attendance at every convened Housing Authority meeting.
Thank you. Next, I'll ask for public comment. There being no public here, ask for confirmation of agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? There being none, I'll ask for approval of minutes of October 15, 2013.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Please vote. Thank you. That item passed. Next, we have the consent calendar.
Move consent calendar.
Second.
The first and second, please vote. Thank you. That item passes. I'll ask for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please vote. Thank you. We are adjourned.